Princess Velara stepped off her shuttle and onto the human vessel with the confidence of someone who had conquered worlds. Her species, the Thalosi, stood taller than most races in the galaxy. Her skin was a deep shade of blue that shimmered under the ship's lights. She had 4 arms, each one graceful and strong, and eyes that could see in darkness. The Thalosi Empire had ruled over dozens of star systems for thousands of years. They were warriors. They were conquerors. And they believed they were the greatest species the universe had ever produced. The Galactic Council had ordered this cultural exchange program. New species that achieved space travel were required to participate. The humans had only discovered faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. They were babies in the cosmic timeline. Velara had volunteered to observe them personally because she wanted to see these primitives up close. She wanted to assess whether they would make good servants for the Empire. The first human she met was a man named Danny Torres. He was shorter than her by almost a full head. His skin was a warm brown color, and his eyes crinkled when he smiled. He wore simple gray clothes with no armor, no weapons, and no signs of rank that she could recognize. When he extended his hand toward her, she remembered from her briefing that this was a human greeting. "Welcome aboard the distant horizon," he said. His voice was friendly and warm. "I'm Danny. I'll be your guide during your stay with us." Velara looked at his hand for a moment before touching it briefly with one of her own. His grip was soft. His palm was smooth. There were no calluses from weapons training, no scars from combat. She felt a small wave of disappointment wash over her. "You are the commander of this vessel?" she asked. She could not hide the doubt in her voice. Danny laughed. It was an open sound, free and easy, like he had no worries in the world. "That's me, Commander Daniel Torres, at your service. But everyone just calls me Danny." Velara made a mental note. The humans put their leaders in positions of vulnerability. This Danny showed no strength, no authority, no warrior spirit. He was either very foolish or very weak. Perhaps both. Over the next several days, Danny showed her around the ship. She met the crew one by one. There was Katie Brennan, a young woman with red hair and freckles across her nose. She worked in security but spent most of her time smiling and making jokes. There was Luis Mendez, the navigator, a quiet man who loved to talk about star maps and mathematics. There was the ship's doctor, an older woman named Grace Kim, who spoke softly and offered Velara tea whenever they met. None of them seemed like warriors. None of them acted like soldiers. They laughed too much. They touched each other casually. They spoke to their commander like he was their friend rather than their superior. In the Thalosi military, such behavior would result in severe punishment. Discipline was everything. Hierarchy was sacred. Velara asked to see their training facilities. Danny took her to a large room filled with strange machines. Some crew members were lifting heavy weights. Others were running on moving platforms that went nowhere. A few were stretching their bodies into unusual positions on soft mats. "This is how your warriors train?" Velara asked. "This is how everyone stays healthy," Danny replied. "We spend a lot of time in space. If we don't exercise, our muscles get weak." Velara watched a young man struggle to lift a metal bar above his head. He grunted with effort, his face turning red. After a few seconds, he dropped the weight and sat down, breathing hard. Another human patted him on the back and offered him water. In the Thalosi military, weakness was met with punishment. Here, it was met with encouragement. Velara did not understand. She asked to spar with one of their security officers. Katie Brennan volunteered with a cheerful smile. They faced each other in a cleared space while several crew members gathered to watch. Velara took her fighting stance, all 4 arms raised. Her body balanced and ready. Katie raised her 2 hands in a loose guard. Her stance was sloppy. Her weight was wrong. Valara could see at least 7 ways to defeat her in the first 3 seconds. The match began. Valara moved forward with controlled speed. She swept Katie's lead leg and touched her throat with one hand while blocking her arms with the other 2. The entire exchange took less than 2 heartbeats. Katie stumbled back, caught her balance, and immediately raised her hands in surrender. "Wow, you got me. That was amazing. Nice move." She was smiling. She was happy about losing. She showed no shame, no anger, no desire for revenge. She simply bowed her head and walked away, already laughing with her friends about how quickly she had been defeated. Valara stood alone in the center of the room, more confused than she had ever been in her life. That night, she recorded her observations in her private journal. She spoke slowly, choosing her words with care. The humans appear to be a prey species. They show no aggression, no warrior instinct, no understanding of combat or hierarchy. Their bodies are soft and slow. Their commander has no authority. Their soldiers surrender without fighting. I believe they achieve space travel through luck rather than skill. The Thalosi Empire should classify them as a protected species. They will need our protection from the dangers of the galaxy. They may be useful for simple labor, but they will never be warriors. They will never be threats. They will never be equals. She saved the recording and prepared for sleep. Tomorrow, she would continue her observations. She would gather more evidence of human weakness. She would return to the Empire with a complete report that would seal humanity's fate as servants of the Thalosi. She was completely and utterly wrong. But she did not know that yet. Outside her quarters, Danny Torres walked past with Katie Brennan at his side. They spoke in low voices, their faces serious, their eyes hard. For just a moment, they looked like different people entirely. Then Katie said something funny. Danny laughed his easy laugh, and they were harmless again. Valara did not see this. She was already asleep, dreaming of the glory she would bring to her empire. The dreams would not last much longer. The alarm came in the middle of the night. Valara woke to the sound of a loud horn echoing through the ship. Red lights flashed in her quarters. She grabbed her personal weapon and rushed into the corridor. Expecting to find chaos and panic dawn instead, she found humans moving with quiet purpose. They did not run. They did not shout. They walked quickly and calmly to their stations, their faces blank and focused. The change was so sudden that Valara stopped in the middle of the hallway, unsure if she was still dreaming that Danny Torres appeared beside her. He was dressed in a dark uniform she had not seen before. His easy smile was gone. His warm eyes were cold. "Your Highness," he said, "please come with me to the bridge. We have a situation." Valara followed him through the ship. She noticed things she had missed before. The crew members she passed were not just walking to their stations. They were checking equipment, testing systems, preparing for something. Their movements were smooth and practiced. They had done this many times before. On the bridge, the main screen showed a planet called Haven's Rest. It was a small human colony on the edge of explored space. The planet was blue and green, covered with forests and oceans. It looked peaceful. It looked safe. But the distress signal told a different story. The audio was broken and filled with static. Through the noise, Valara heard screaming. She heard weapons fire. She heard a woman's voice shouting for help before the signal cut off entirely. "Krixar Raiders," Danny said. His voice was flat. 3 ships in orbit. They've been hitting frontier colonies for the past 6 months. Slavers. Valara felt her blood turn cold. She knew the Krixar well. Every species in the galaxy knew the Krixar. They were massive creatures with 8 legs and hard shells covering their bodies. They had poisonous jaws that could kill with a single bite. They hunted in packs and communicated through smells that other species could not understand. They viewed all other races as food or slaves. Nothing more. The Thalosi Empire avoided direct conflict with the Krixar whenever possible. They were apex predators, perfect killing machines that had evolved to hunt and destroy. Even Thalosi warriors, the finest in the galaxy, preferred to fight them from a distance with overwhelming numbers. "We must contact the nearest Thalosi patrol," Velar said quickly. "They can send a proper military force. A single human ship cannot. The colonists will be dead or taken in 6 hours," Danny interrupted. He did not look at her. His eyes were fixed on the screen. "We are the only ship close enough to help. Commander Torres, I must strongly advise against this course of action. The Krixar are apex predators. Your crew is not trained for." Danny turned to look at her. Something in his eyes made her stop talking. It was not anger. It was not fear. It was something else. Something she did not recognize. "Lieutenant Brennan," he called out. "Sound general quarters. All hands to battle stations." Katie Brennan stood at a console nearby. The cheerful woman who had surrendered so easily in their sparring match was gone. In her place stood someone harder, sharper, more dangerous. She pressed a series of buttons, and the ship's horn changed tone. The red lights turned blue. "All hands to battle stations," Katie announced through the ship's communication system. Her voice was cold and clear. "This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. Prepare for combat." Velara watched the bridge crew transform before her eyes. Luis Mendez, the quiet navigator who loved mathematics, was now plotting attack courses with deadly precision. His fingers flew across his console faster than Velara could follow. Other crew members were running checks on weapon systems, shield generators, and engine power. They moved like parts of a single machine, each one knowing exactly what to do. Throughout the ship, she heard the sounds of lockers opening, armor being put on, weapons being loaded and checked. The soft, friendly humans she had observed for weeks were disappearing. Something else was taking their place. Danny led her to a viewing window. In the distance, she could see the 3 Krixar ships orbiting Haven's Rest. Their vessels were ugly things, grown rather than built, covered with plates of organic armor that pulsed with strange lights. 3 ships, Velar said quietly. Each one carries at least 50 Krixar warriors. "Commander, this is suicide. The Krixar are apex predators. They have never been defeated in ground combat." "Your Highness," Danny said softly. He turned to face her, and that strange expression was still in his eyes. But now there was something else. A small smile at the corner of his mouth. It was not his usual warm smile. This smile showed his teeth. "I think there has been a misunderstanding," he continued, "about what humans are." Before Velara could respond, the ship jumped to attack speed. She grabbed a wall to steady herself. Outside the window, the stars blurred into lines. The distant horizon was not running away. It was charging directly toward 3 Krixar raider ships, and Danny Torres, the friendly commander she had dismissed as weak and harmless, stood at the center of the bridge like a predator preparing to hunt. Velar realized, for the first time, that she might have made a terrible mistake in her assessment of humanity. But it was far too late to change her report now. All she could do was watch and see what these strange, soft creatures would do when faced with the most dangerous predators in the known galaxy. The answer would change everything she believed about the universe. The distant horizon dropped out of fast travel directly behind the smallest Krixar ship. The human vessel appeared like a ghost, silent and sudden. Before the Krixar could react, before they could even understand what was happening, Danny gave his first order. "Fire." 2 bright lines of energy shot from the human ship and struck the Krixar raider with perfect accuracy. They did not hit the main body. They did not try to destroy the ship. Instead, they struck the engines. The Krixar vessel shuddered and went dark, drifting helplessly in space. Velara stared at the screen. In Thalosi combat doctrine, the first attack was meant to show strength. You fired at the enemy's heart, their center of power, to demonstrate your superiority. The humans had done something different. They had crippled the enemy's ability to move or escape. That it was not a warrior's strike. It was a hunter's strike. Target their communication arrays, Danny ordered calmly. I do not want them calling for help. Mendez, take us between ships 2 and 3. Make them afraid to shoot at each other. Luis Mendez nodded once and moved his hands across the console. The distant horizon twisted and accelerated, diving toward the gap between the 2 remaining Krixar ships. It was a dangerous move. The human vessel was now between 2 enemies, exposed from both sides, but the Krixar could not fire without risking hitting each other. Velara watched the battle unfold with growing amazement. Danny did not fight like a Thalosi commander. There were no grand announcements, no challenges issued to the enemy, no displays of honor or courage. He simply gave quiet orders that his crew followed without question. Each order was practical, efficient, and designed to create maximum advantage with minimum risk. One Krixar captain lost patience. His ship opened fire on the distant horizon, but the human vessel was already moving. The plasma bolts missed their target and struck the other Krixar ship instead. Velara heard strange sounds over the communication channels. The Krixar were screaming at each other, their pheromone signals translated into harsh, angry words. They are fighting among themselves, she said quietly. That was the plan, Danny replied. He did not smile. His focus was absolute. When you cannot match an enemy's strength, you use their strength against them. Old human saying. The second Krixar ship was listing now, its hull damaged by friendly fire. The distant horizon took advantage, firing precise shots at weapon systems and shield generators. Within minutes, 2 of the 3 Krixar ships were crippled. Not destroyed. Crippled. Unable to fight or flee. The 3rd ship tried to run. They are retreating, Velara said with relief. The battle is won. We cannot let them escape, Danny interrupted. If they warn other Krixar packs about this colony, more will come. And they still have prisoners aboard. Colonists they have already captured. Velara felt cold. You intend to pursue? To board their vessel? Yes, Commander Torres, that is madness. Fighting Krixar in space is one thing. Fighting them inside their own ship, in close combat. She shook her head. No species has ever won such a battle. The Krixar are apex predators. They are designed for this kind of fighting. Danny looked at her. That strange smile was back, the one that showed his teeth. Your Highness, he said softly, on my world, humans spent 200,000 years as something called persistence predators. Do you know what that means? Velara shook her head. It means we do not have claws. We do not have fangs or poison or armor. We cannot run faster than our prey or overpower them with strength. What we have is endurance, patience, the ability to keep going long after our prey has given up. He turned back to the screen, where the 3rd Krixar ship was trying desperately to escape. On Earth, our ancestors would hunt by following animals for days. Not hours, days. They would walk and jog across endless plains, never stopping, never resting enough for the animal to recover. Eventually, the prey would collapse from exhaustion. It could not run anymore. It could not fight anymore. And then our ancestors would simply walk up to it and end the hunt. The distant horizon was gaining on the Krixar ship. Velara could see that escape was impossible now. When we invented weapons, Danny continued. We did not stop being predators. We just became better at it. We created spears that could kill from a distance, bows that could strike silently, guns that could destroy anything we aimed at. And when we went to the stars, we brought all of that with us. He gave another order. Prepare boarding teams. Full combat loadout. Katie Brennan's voice came through the communication system. Boarding teams ready, Commander. We are good to go. Danny nodded. Dock with the enemy vessel. We are going in. Valara grabbed his arm. All four of her hands gripped him tightly. You will die in there, she said. All of you. The Krixar are predators. Danny finished for her. So are we. He gently removed her hands from his arm. Your Highness, you are welcome to stay here where it is safe. Or you can come with us and see what humans really are. The choice is yours. Valara thought about her report, about all her notes on human weakness and softness, about how wrong she had been. I will come with you, she said. Danny's smile changed. It became warmer, almost like his old smile, but his eyes stayed hard and focused. Then stay close, he said, and try not to get in the way. The airlock opened. The hunt was about to begin. The inside of the Krixar ship smelled like death. The walls were not made of metal like human vessels. They were organic, grown from living tissue, and they pulsed with a slow, sickening rhythm. The corridors were dark and wet. Strange fluids dripped from the ceiling. Valara had to fight the urge to turn and run back to the clean, bright safety of the distant horizon. The boarding team moved forward in perfect silence. 12 humans in black armor that seemed to drink in the dim light. They communicated through hand signals and small gestures that Valara could not understand. No one spoke. No one made unnecessary sounds. They flowed through the alien corridors like shadows. Katie Brennan led the way. Her earlier cheerfulness was gone completely. In its place was something cold and focused. She held her weapon with the ease of someone who had used it many times before. Her eyes never stopped moving, scanning every shadow, every corner, every possible hiding place. Valara stayed close to Danny in the middle of the formation. She had her own weapon ready, but she felt clumsy compared to the humans around her. They moved like they belonged in this nightmare place, like they had been born to hunt in darkness. The first Krixar attacked without warning. It burst from a side passage, all 8 legs moving at impossible speed. Its armored shell was dark red, and its poisonous jaws were open wide enough to bite a human in half. In Thalosi military training, this would trigger an immediate retreat. You did not fight a Krixar charge head-on. You fell back and called for reinforcements. Everyone knew this. Katie did not retreat. She stepped to the side at the last possible moment. The massive creature rushed past her, unable to stop its own momentum. As it passed, Katie fired 3 shots into the soft joint where the creature's shell met its body. The Krixar collapsed, its legs twitching, and Katie was already moving forward before it stopped making sounds. The entire exchange took less than 3 seconds. Clear, Katie said softly. It was the first word anyone had spoken since entering the ship. They continued forward. Valara's hearts were beating so fast she thought they might burst. She had trained with the finest Thalosi warriors. She had seen combat against a dozen different species. But she had never seen anything like this. The humans did not fight like warriors. They did not seek glory or honor. They did not announce themselves or challenge their enemies. They moved through the Krixar ship like hunters stalking prey. Silent, patient, deadly. 2 more Krixar appeared in a corridor ahead. They were smaller than the first, probably scouts. They had not yet seen the humans. Danny made a small gesture with his hand. 2 members of the team raised their weapons and fired together. Both Krixar fell without making a sound. Contacts in Corridor 7, a soldier reported in a low whisper. 4 hostiles engaging. Velara heard soft sounds of weapons fire from somewhere nearby. Then, after a few seconds, Corridor 7 clear. They found the prisoners in the lower part of the ship. The cargo hold was large and dark, and it smelled worse than anywhere else. 37 humans were huddled together against one wall. Men, women, and children. Their clothes were torn. Their faces were dirty with tears. Some of them had wounds from Crixar claws. When they saw the boarding team, several of them started crying again. But these were different tears. These were tears of relief. "We are getting you out," Katie told them. Her voice was soft but firm. "Stay behind us. Stay quiet. Do exactly what we say." A young girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old, grabbed Katie's hand. "Are you going to save us?" Katie knelt down so she was at the girl's eye level. "Yes, I promise. But I need you to be very brave." "Can you do that?" The girl nodded, her lower lip trembling. Katie smiled. For just a moment, she looked like the cheerful woman Velara had met on the distant horizon. Then she stood up, and the hunter returned. The way back to the airlock was longer than the way in. The Crixar knew their ship had been invaded. Velara could hear them moving through the walls, chittering to each other in their strange language. They were gathering, forming a pack, preparing to hunt the hunters. "They are trying to push us toward the main chamber," Danny observed quietly. He was looking at a small map on his wrist device. Classic pack hunting behavior. "They want to surround us in open ground. Then we should find another way," Velara said. "No." Danny's eyes were bright with something that looked almost like excitement. "We will give them what they want." The main chamber was a massive open space at the heart of the Crixar ship. It was where the pack gathered to eat and rest. The ceiling was high, and the floor was covered with bones from previous meals. Velara felt sick when she saw them. Some of the bones were clearly not from animals. 23 Crixar emerged from the passages around them. They formed a circle, cutting off all escape routes. Their shells clicked and scraped against each other. Their jaws dripped with venom. The largest one, the pack leader, stepped forward. It was nearly 3 meters tall, and its eyes glowed with cruel intelligence. "Small predators," it said in broken galactic common. His voice was wet and horrible. "You have entered our den. You have killed our hunters. Now you will feed our young." Danny stepped forward to meet it. He was less than half the creature's height. He carried no visible weapons. He should have looked helpless. Instead, somehow, he looked dangerous. "On Earth," Danny said calmly, "we have a saying. Never corner something meaner than you." The pack leader clicked its jaws in confusion. "You are not meaner. You are small, soft. You have no poison, no shell, no." "Brennan," Danny said. "Lights." Katie pressed a button on her wrist. Every light in the chamber went out. Velara activated the thermal vision in her helmet. What she saw next would stay with her forever. The Crixar were blind in the darkness. They relied on their eyes to hunt, and now they could see nothing. They began to panic, clicking and screaming, bumping into each other as they tried to find their enemies. The humans were not blind. They moved through the darkness like ghosts. They had trained for this. They had prepared for exactly this situation, fighting apex predators in their own home in total darkness. Each shot was precise. Each movement was calculated. They worked together in perfect coordination, never getting in each other's way, never giving the Crixar a clear target. Less than 2 minutes later, it was over. When the lights came back on, 23 Crixar lay dead on the floor. Not a single human had been seriously injured. Danny stood over the body of the pack leader. He was breathing a little harder than usual. There was dark blood splattered on his armor, but his face was calm. "Like I said," he remarked quietly, "persistent predators." Velara looked at the carnage around her. The greatest predators in the galaxy, destroyed by creatures half their size. Her entire understanding of the universe had just shattered into a million pieces, and somewhere deep inside her, she felt something she had never expected to feel toward these soft, smiling humans. Fear. The journey back to Thalosi space took 12 days. 12 days for Velara to sit in her quarters and think about everything she had seen. 12 days to rewrite her report again and again, trying to find the right words to describe what humans really were. Her original assessment sat on her desk, mocking her. Prey species. No warrior instinct. Useful for simple labor. She had been a fool. Worse than a fool. She had been arrogant. The Thalosi believed they were the greatest warriors in the galaxy, and Velara had let that belief blind her to the truth. She had looked at humans and seen only what she expected to see. Soft bodies. Friendly smiles. Easy laughter. She had never thought to look deeper. On the 8th night, Danny found her in the observation lounge. The room had large windows that showed the stars streaking past as the ship traveled through space. Velara sat alone in the darkness, watching the lights blur into long lines. Danny sat down beside her. He carried 2 cups of something hot. The smell was bitter and strange. "Coffee," he said, offering her one. "Human drink. It takes some getting used to, but most species learn to like it." Velara took the cup with 2 of her hands. She wrapped the others around herself, suddenly cold despite the warm temperature of the ship. "May I ask you something?" she said quietly. "Danny," he corrected with a small smile. "And sure, ask anything." Velara took a sip of the coffee. It was indeed bitter, but there was something comforting about its warmth. "When we first met," she began slowly, "when you showed me around the ship and introduced me to your crew, you knew what I was doing. You knew I was studying you, judging your species." She looked at him. "Why did you let me believe you were weak?" Danny did not answer right away. He drank his coffee and looked out at the stars for a long moment. "How old is the Thalosi Empire?" he finally asked. 7,000 years, Velara replied. "We have conquered 32 species and rule over 200 worlds." 7,000 years, Danny repeated. "That's a long time. And in all those years, your people have learned that strength means power, that the strongest species rule and the weakest serve." He turned to look at her. "What do you think would have happened if humans had come into the galactic community, showing off our military power, demonstrating our weapons and our tactics, proving that we were dangerous?" Velara thought about it. She thought about the Thalosi High Council, the admirals and generals who made decisions about war and peace. She thought about how they reacted to threats. "We would have seen you as enemies," she admitted. "We would have tried to destroy you before you became too strong to defeat." "Exactly." Danny nodded slowly. "But a harmless, friendly species that poses no threat? You leave them alone. You ignore them. You let them grow and learn at their own pace." He sat down, his coffee cup, and looked at her with those eyes that could be so warm and so cold at the same time. "Humans have been pretending to be prey for 50 years, he said. 50 years of smiling and being friendly and letting other species think we are weak. 50 years of learning about the galaxy, studying other races, developing our technology in secret. We have been waiting, preparing. Preparing for what?" Danny's smile grew slightly wider. "For whatever comes next. We hope we never have to fight the Thalosi or any other major power. We genuinely want to be friends. We want to trade and cooperate and build something good together." His smile faded. But if anyone threatens us, if anyone tries to conquer us or enslave us like the Krixar enslave others, they will discover what humans really are. And by then, it will be too late. Velara felt a chill run through her body. She understood now. The humans were not pretending to be weak because they were cowards. They were pretending because it was smart, because it gave them advantages, because it was exactly what a clever predator would do. You wear the mask of prey, she said slowly. But underneath, you are hunters. We are survivors, Danny corrected. On Earth, we faced ice ages that lasted thousands of years. Volcanoes that blocked out the sun. Predators that were bigger, faster, and stronger than us. And do you know what we did? Velara shook her head. We endured. We adapted. We kept going. Every time something tried to destroy us, we found a way to survive and come back stronger. That is what humans are. Not the biggest or the fastest or the strongest, but the ones who never, ever give up. They sat in silence for a long time, watching the stars. Finally, Velara spoke again. What should I tell my people? The Thalosi High Council expects a report. They expect recommendations. Danny considered this carefully. Tell them the truth. Tell them that humans want to be allies, not enemies. Tell them that we have much to offer as friends and much to lose as opponents. He paused. And maybe leave out some of the details about what happened on the Krixar ship. Some things are better left as surprises. He smiled his warm, friendly smile. The same smile she had seen on her first day aboard this ship. The same smile she had mistaken for weakness. Now she knew better. That smile was a mask. Behind it was one of the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever produced. 3 weeks later, Velara stood before the Thalosi High Council. Her report was brief, but powerful. The humans are not a prey species, she announced. They are not primitives requiring our protection. They are apex predators who have learned to hide their true nature behind friendly faces and easy laughter. They are more dangerous than anything we have encountered before. The council members shifted uneasily in their seats. Several of them looked skeptical. What do you recommend? The High Admiral asked. Velara took a deep breath. I recommend immediate diplomatic efforts to establish them as allies rather than subjects. They have extended friendship to us. We should accept it. Because the alternative, trying to conquer or control them, would be the worst mistake in the history of our empire. The council debated for 3 days. In the end, they accepted her recommendations. A formal alliance was proposed. The humans accepted with warm handshakes and friendly smiles, and if any of the Thalosi diplomats noticed a quiet confidence in human eyes, the look of predators who had just convinced their prey that they were harmless friends. They were wise enough to keep that observation to themselves. Somewhere in the galaxy, Danny Torres raised a cup of coffee in a silent toast. The hunt was over. The humans had won, and the galaxy would never look at them the same way again.